First of all, my name is Salvatore Lupoli. On behalf of my organization, I want to thank this board, Selectmen, for inviting me here tonight. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm in front of the board to ask them if they would allow me, every time you have a session from this point on, moving forward, to allow you to come in front of this board and give you an update of what's going on. As you may or may not know, I am the owner of 146 Dascom Road, DascomRoadRDproject.com, if anybody is interested. This is a project that our family, our company, has been working on for 5 years. This is not a new project to the town of Andover. I just want to once more let the board and the people that are out there listening, this was a project prior to my purchasing. It's called ID2, that was rezoned to create a commercial retail application. I received phone calls from the former administrators here in the town of Andover that there was potentially an opportunity for a developer. They invited me in, they showed me the ID2, they told me what opportunities exist. I worked with the existing board members and some other people in the town. Finally, I purchased that real estate. I spent 5 years going through the permitting process and going through the vetting process of it. We've been able to come in front of this board many times and talk about the project in different aspects. Having said that, I have my engineer here. I'd like him to bring you an update on it, but I would like to tell you that we are right on schedule for what we actually said. This project started with an all-commercial project, which that's exactly what it's zoned for. I purchased the real estate. When I purchased it, 50% of the real estate over there that consists of warehouse and industrial space was empty. It's still empty today, approximately that square footage, known as the Mayo Clinic, and certainly the former Andover, the Anderson window building that I purchased, about 200,000 square feet, was empty when I purchased it. I would like to convert that in a two-pronged parallel approach project, which is this. Once again, all commercial. I'd like to go in front of the town of Andover, a by right project that has been zoned to create office and retail. I think that's a good project. However, I think I have a better project that I'd like to present to the town that will address 225 senior units of senior housing with an affordable part of it. Approximately 15% of it I'd like to make affordable. Strictly senior housing. There are people in Andover that we were told that want to stay in Andover, they just can't afford the housing today, or they'd like to take advantage of their investment over years by selling their investment and staying in Andover and renting. That's what we're being told. By doing that, I'd like to decrease the project approximately 260,000 square feet to put the residential component in. Just to make you understand, there are two projects. One is a by right. We'll be submitting tomorrow. We've been working for months now with the town of Andover. We've been working for months now with various heads of the department. I'm sure there are many people on this board that I've seen in the building. I've seen at IDR meetings. This is not something new. We've been working for weeks and weeks with some of the people in this room, as a matter of fact, on a all-commercial project. I feel I can do a better project. That's why I'd like to come in front of the town at the January 29th meeting. I would like to decrease the size of the project, about 260,000 square feet of office and retail, and I'd like to backfill that with senior housing, strictly senior housing. That's going to require a PUD. My engineer will talk a little bit about that. But once again, we're moving ahead. Why? It's been 5 years that we've been working on this project. So a by right or a all-commercial project is being submitted tomorrow, just like we said. I know there's been some confusion or been some question as far as what a Mass Works grant that is posted on our website. By the way, for weeks, a 700-page, almost months now, 700-page document has been online for anyone to peruse. An economic report has been online on our website. A one-page document just to kind of break down the traffic has been online on our project. Also, the PUD that we'll be submitting has been online for weeks now. For anybody to know. For weeks, I've been meeting in people's homes, from Janet Clark to the location to various locations around town. We'll be, from this point on, submitting a plan of every single week where the Lupoli companies will be talking about this particular project. If you'd like to attend, there was some confusion on not knowing where we were. We'd be happy to share that with you. So once again, we'd like to come in front of you in January 29th at a town meeting to compress the project even more, take out retail, take out office, backfill it with housing. It's interesting. I'm listening to Bob and Mr. Raleigh talk about some of the really important things. This will be a really large, today we pay about $150,000 a year in taxes. If we're able to move forward on this project with the housing, we continue to move forward on the all commercial. It will generate $3.3 million approximately in taxable revenue. And it also helps in one of the things I heard tonight, which are senior housing. No millennials. We learned that from going on tour and listening to the public that there was potentially a cost or an effect to the public schools. We've taken that right off the table. Only 55 and older senior housing with an affordable component can be in part of this project. $3.3 million in an injection to taxable revenue into your town as a result of this project. This project today represents $150,000 of taxable revenue to your town. So with that, I'd be happy to, and once again, I thank this board for inviting me here tonight to clarify the project. There is a Mass Works component. There was a letter online that was given by Jay Ash. If there's any confusion or concern that it's a little ambiguous, I've said it before in public and I'll say it again. Whatever the state of Massachusetts doesn't pay in order for this project to move forward, we've already said, and Andrew will not allow the permits to take place without the bonds being up. The Lupoli family will pay all the permitting fees, all infrastructure that's needed. Whatever the Mass Works doesn't pay for, we will pay. That's been on record and that's been understood for months and months and months now. So as far as what we've been doing, Rick is going to inundate you with the amount of work that we've been done. We've been meeting with your town, from DPW to health inspectors for a all commercial. I think that's a B project. The A project is a residential. And just to give you a little comparison, I think this is really important because people keep using the word mall. This is not a mall. Just to give you the idea of the size of this project when it's completed, if we were allowed to do the residential portion, the medical space that we built on 133 is approximately 70,000 square feet where the Mass General Hospital is present now. I would propose 2 of those buildings. That's the amount of office. As far as the commercial, what you have over at Shawsheen Plaza is approximately 100,000 square feet. That's a little bit more than what I'm proposing. And then the balance would be senior housing. So this whole mall project is 2 of the office buildings I have on 133. Less retail than you have right now at Shawsheen, and then the balance would be elderly housing, which is much needed in your community. And with that, I'd like to turn it over.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Ms. Lupoli, you said you were invited by the board to be here. Who invited you?
If the members of the board would like to speak up, I'd be happy to.
No, I'd like to speak up because actually I've been quite disappointed in the town's handling of this project.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had the floor. I just wanted to ask who invited you. So who invited you? Because I'm not aware that the board invited you.
Mr. Kowalski invited me.
Okay, so Mr. Kowalski,
Yes.
fine. Okay, that's the answer. And you can go after me. But
Thank you.
this citizens petitions, this format, I have issue with this process, okay? Citizens petitions is designed to be a 3-minute time slot for things that are not on the agenda. You're not on the agenda, you just went on for almost 10 minutes, which is fine, get an update. But this notion of now turning it over to your engineer, this was not an agenda item. If you were invited, or this should be an agenda item, because there's a lot of people in this community that have a huge interest in this project. And they didn't have an opportunity to be here tonight. The board didn't have a chance to prepare questions because this wasn't on the agenda. So I think there needs to be a better communication of process on this, that there's a distinction between citizens petitions. A quick 3-minute update is fine, but other than that, it is not on the agenda. It is not appropriate for a more thorough presentation because the community was not aware that this was going to be on the agenda. So I take exception to this on process.
Maybe
I'm
I can
sorry?
next because I completely agree with
Okay,
you.
no, sure.
I completely agree with you.
Thank you.
And for the last two meetings. Last meeting I said that I feel that this board, the town, has let you down, Mr. Lupoli. And the reason for that is I've asked for an update from Lupoli Companies to be on our last two Board of Selectmen agendas, exactly for the reason that Mr. Landry had stated, is that the town needs to be notified that, you know, this presentation is going to be made. I was quite perplexed when I looked at this past week's agenda and I didn't see it on the agenda. And I called Mr. Lupoli to ask him, well, why weren't you on the agenda? Because I asked the chair and the town manager to get you on the agenda. And I was told, well, we'll cover it during citizens petitions. I objected to this being done during citizens petitions because this deserves a clearly defined amount of time on the agenda so that the public can be aware.
Can I
I mean,
respond to that?
this is a, no, actually, no, you can't.
Yes, I can,
Because
but go ahead.
this is a great project, and I feel that the town's doing you a disservice to this, because we need to be out there broadcasting that you're gonna come here and give us an update. I was completely taken back when I was told in the newspaper, you advertised in the newspaper, the Andover Townsman, that you were having community forums that I had no idea were happening. So I really feel like, as an individual member of the Board of Selectmen, I'm dumbfounded that I don't know about this. I'm the liaison to the task force committee. So I'm really looking forward to learning a
Task
lot
force
more,
committee.
but we need to,
What task force?
the task force.
There is no liaison from the board of
That's
selectmen.
the task
Yeah,
force.
yeah,
I thought
this-
the board
No,
decided
we
there would be no
decided,
task
in
force.
fact, you voted in favor. with
Oh,
me.
actually, you know what?
Yeah, there is
Andrew
no,
asked me, I think, to be the liaison, and you know what? I forgot about that there was.
you said it was a good idea when I.
Yeah, I did.
suggested it on
I
the
completely
phone.
agreed with you.
Yeah.
So.
But I would also, just one thing, I just wanted to, and I don't disagree with anything you said, the only thing I'd say is that it doesn't sound like until tomorrow morning, anything is gonna be submitted to the town. The task force was set up, agree or disagree, to review what is submitted. So there's, as of till tomorrow, right, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Lupoli? So tomorrow, something gets submitted. So nothing's been submitted to planning board, whether it be the by right or the PUD.
Okay, so we want to go back to, okay, it's an
It's not true.
ID2 task
That's
force.
not correct, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Okay, so aren't there two things that you're gonna, just,
You're asking.
I'm sorry,
we've got-
I take exception, we cannot be deliberating this, this is
I'm not
unfair from
deliberating,
open meeting law.
I'm just asking what he, because
I agree, but the process we should be capping this here,
Yeah.
and then understanding that if
I-
there's going to be an
let me-
update, it should be on the
It should
agenda.
be the next
Let me
agenda.
talk, okay?
I agree, totally agree.
Yeah.
Let's.
I think we're in agreement.
We are, I said that this was a 5-minute update. It took 10, that's great. Sorry, Rick, we'll get you on the agenda for another time. I agree that, but this, I never got one request from anyone but you. I did not get a request from the developer to be on this agenda. So I can't, you
I've
can't.
talked to the town manager. I can show you
Did you get a request from the, to be on the agenda from the developer?
2 weeks ago, I asked for
I
this.
did receive one from Mr. Kowalski.
Yes.
No, I'm
So
talking about from the developer. How can,
I spoke with the developer.
okay.
So, and who tells me that he's having trouble communicating with the town. And please correct me if I misstate anything, Mr. Lupoli.
At this point today, after 5 years, I am actually really doing my best to communicate. It's been a real challenge. So the answer is yes, I'm a developer in your town that is confused right now, but hopefully after tonight, with the task force, being able to ask me questions, I'm looking forward to, that's why I've started my own conversation with people in people's homes to talk about this project, because there's a lot of lies out there being said about this project, and I look forward to talking about this project.
I have not, until this very moment, heard anything that you wanted to be on, that you personally wanted to be on this agenda. You requested tonight that you wanted to be on every agenda coming up. I'll be more than happy. We should communicate regularly because I'm the one who has to form the agenda. Be happy to do that,
Thank you.
okay? So at this point, you want to start to fast track that, move it forward. I agree tonight, this went a little further than I had thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a quick update. And it is, and we're gonna have to cut it right here. So if there's nothing further,
What's further, and the town manager and I have had discussion on this, it's not the town manager's job to call Mr. Lupoli to remove obstacles. I assume it's not your job. I mean, obviously, you're going to work very closely with Mr. Lupoli, but you have a director of planning, I am assuming, who should be working extremely closely with Mr. Rick, okay. That the two of them should be facilitating everything. I mean, you two are the executives.
And I don't want to, planning has been fantastic to work with. I think it's just, the message getting to everybody on the boards.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll ask Andrew if he can address the communication problems that exist within our organization so that communication can be brought up to the Board of
I
Selectmen.
just want to say one thing. If you want to be on the agenda, call me. I will make sure that if it is worthy of an agenda item, or if we have room on the agenda, it will be on the agenda.
I think I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chairman. I know Rick talks with planning weekly, several times a week.
More than once a week, yeah.
More than once a week. I think we need to establish a conduit between planning through myself and then to the board.
And the task force,
And the task force, which will be in
that's the
place.
reason.
Which is in place and will be meeting tomorrow night.
Well, given that there are only, 5 weeks until we have our special town meeting, and during that time, we have a significant number of holidays, I would suggest that we make sure to get this on the agenda. Even if we can't allow as much time as we'd like, we need to have an update. We need to give people the opportunity to be involved and know that this is moving forward. Because the biggest concern when this issue was raised at the last town meeting was there wasn't enough information and there wasn't enough time. So we need to make sure that the information is getting out there through the town, not just through community events that the developer's holding.
Well, and I'd like to, Ms. Lupoli, with all due respect, I think, this task force was set up against my wishes, but it is there. It is going to have its first meeting tomorrow, December 5th. The special town meeting that your organization is targeting is the end of January. With the holidays, there is very little time. These are residents who are volunteering to serve on a task force. I think it's incredibly unfair to expect them to work through the holidays and give up their first part of January to expedite a process that is a very complex issue. The conversation and the
We're
comments.
getting now, we're
Yeah.
further getting
Well, I'm
into-
getting to,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
relates to
And it's like-
process. It just relates to process, which is I would,
Of course.
Well, it's not my task force. It was put up, it was suggested at town meeting. I didn't have any appointment to it. I'm not on it. So with all due respect, how do I control something that I wasn't even invited to?
Well, I think
Okay,
it was starting when you submit, so there's been nothing submitted, so the question becomes, if I can just
Yes,
take it from
please.
there, Sal.
yeah.
Now, I think this, just let me just finish here, the clarification, I think the task force charter is to review. They're essentially, just give me a second here, they're essentially, their charter is equivalent to what our finance committee is for our budget. That they take in the information, your submission, whether it's a PUD or an as-right, and evaluate it, and then make a recommendation within that group to recommend to town meeting or the board, okay, like an advisor status, a group to analyze it. So there has been nothing submitted yet, so I think the conversation in the last two meetings, the concern was, and it was maybe a little bit of a universal concern, different people had different concerns about the timeline. So you're submitting tomorrow. Nothing's been submitted yet. So once it gets submitted, then this group starts to analyze what gets submitted, whether it's the by right or the PUD or both, okay, which is my assumption since you mentioned you're going on a parallel path. So I think the point is that was just raised was the timeliness to get a good analysis of that given the time frame. It's certainly, you're right, because we have an open warrant, it's a special town meeting, but the question is there wisdom in trying to force, is it trying to push this through, and is the task force really going to have the proper opportunity to evaluate and be able to give a...
I think we should let the task force meet.
Yeah,
and-
but that's
and-
just-
and-
There's been plenty of information that's been submitted.
No,
I mean, we formed this to be an ID2
But
committee.
nothing's been submitted yet to the
Then
town.
we changed it to be a Dascom Road Task Force. We've had plenty of
But nothing's-
presentations.
my point is nothing been
There's
submitted
Plenty
yet.
of presentations. So if
been submitted yet.
if the timeline defines for this task force to wait till it's submitted, and Mr. Lupoli's ready to go now and bring it to town meeting in January, it's incumbent upon us to deal with it in that
For
timeframe.
them, absolutely.
We shouldn't have to ask a developer to hold off.
No, I think it's
because
just
the
raised.
holidays.
No, I think it's just raised as a point of order, that's all.
Al,
but
just to let you know, to the town already, and Rick, if you could just, the traffic report has been submitted, the economic report has been submitted to your town.
And no project's been submitted yet. You said tomorrow you're going to
You've gone in
submit.
front of your IDR to talk about the project and refine the project.
You just said that it's not being submitted until tomorrow morning.
That's correct. But to say that no information has
No, I
been
didn't say
submitted.
that. I just
And I'm
said
sorry, but submitted to what? Task force or the planning board?
planning board, I guess.
Planning board.
Planning board.
Planning board, okay,
That's
so.
the official.
Okay, so this is, I would say actually that we need to put this on the next meeting agenda. I think Ms. Napoli, I think they should come in and have it
That's a
be
good
a
idea.
proper agenda item. This board should not be bypassed just because it's a task force. We all have a
And
responsibility
that's why we didn't
to vet
put
this
a,
ourselves
that's why
as
we
well.
didn't put a liaison to it, because we wanted to all get the information.
That's right. So I encourage
right.
Mr. Lupoli and his team to come back at our next meeting, have a
remember why he asked for
legitimate discussion to get all this out, because I certainly have lots of questions, and I know the community does.
We've already told them that we're going to do that. So
Yeah.
we're not-
So we'll plan for the 18th.
Right?
Okay, so we'll be on the agenda. Thank you.
Yes, it will.
Good.